Hi, this is the Luxury Kitchen Summit, but really what we wanted to present for you today is really the latest of innovative cooking you'll either see now or in the future. And we brought together a really good panel. We have Ann Muth, who's the Vice President of Marketing at BlueStar, Darrell Williams. He's going to talk about ventilation, which we all know is near and dear to my heart. He's the Executive Director of no less than GE. Mike Withers works for Aga Brand. Um, Jared Costa is from family-owned Miele company, and Amy Colosia is from La Cornue. So the way this format is, they have a 4-minute presentation. I'm gonna ask them questions for a minute or two. We're gonna move on to the next, then we're gonna have a round table discussion. I think you'll find this very informative. Anne, you are up.
Thanks for having me. BlueStar is a family-owned business based in Pennsylvania. We have been manufacturing appliances since 1880, and we are known in the industry for our chef-level performance and the ability to endlessly customize. In 2023, BlueStar entered the dual fuel segment of the business with our first ever dual fuel range line. The launch came with the introduction of the revolutionary X8 burner. This year, we expanded the award-winning line to include 30 and 60-inch models in addition to the original 36 and 48 we started with. The 60 seen here made its debut in the Caesarstone booth at KBIS in February. The X8 sealed burner, exclusive to the BlueStar dual fuel line, delivers full spectrum power, performance, and versatility, delivering a high 25,000 BTUs all the way down to a continuous warm 500 BTUs on every burner. The 8-point star-shaped design is an evolution of our open burners that built the brand. The 20-inch circumference and 152 precision ports provide even heat across any cooking surface. I'm thrilled to share today that we will be expanding the X8 platform to drop-in cooktops in 2025, and we'll be sharing that product at KBIS. Last year at your Appliance Summit, we shared our 48-inch induction range. It will be launching this fall. Our goal with this range was to bring some of the hallmarks of the BlueStar brand into the induction space: capacity, high heat, and versatile cooking performance. The top cooking area will be almost 20% larger than any other unit on the market. There will be 6 oversized cooking zones, 2 bridges, including one that will be 7,400 watts. That's equivalent to 45,000 BTUs. The oven will, of course, hold a full-size sheet pan, and it will be available in any of our 1,000 colors. BlueStar's ability to customize is unmatched in the industry, and we see every day on our production line that color is here to stay. Every year, we introduce our color of the year, a representation of the broader color climate. Our 2024 color is honey yellow. This bold choice was curated by the visionary designer Tina Triggs and is a harmonizing blend of warmth and optimism, perfect for bringing creativity to the forefront of home kitchens. We incorporated honey yellow into our summer color palette, which showcases vibrant and warm colors that remind us of summer's stunning sunsets and calming blue waters. So how are home cooks and designers alike innovating with customization in the kitchen? Through painting with 1,000 colors, adding painted knobs as a pop of color, and accenting with trims to blend with lighting, hardware, and plumbing fixtures. Although only shown here on ranges, only BlueStar can provide this breadth of options across the entire suite of kitchen appliances: ranges, ventilation, and refrigeration. One of the other customizations BlueStar offers is the ability to custom color match. This is gaining popularity as it fits with several design trends that we're seeing in the broader marketplace. The first is color drenching, where one hero color is selected for an entire space. Here, the custom color was matched to the paint that's on the walls and on the cabinets to match our hood as well as the knobs on the range top. Here is the blending of the range into the lower cabinets. Again, a custom color match and trend we're seeing. And finally, a match to the most popular cabinetry color, simply white, shown here on the appliance with the largest footprint in the kitchen, a built-in refrigerator. Thank you for allowing me to share some of the new product and color innovations from BlueStar.
First of all, thank you very much. I happen to love the colors. I was a KBiz last year. And I didn't even know before we carried BlueStar, I didn't even know there was 1,000 colors, period. I think I could name maybe 30. But I have to ask this question. What is the most unique range you shipped in the last year or so?
Well, depending on your personal preferences, we did not escape the Barbie craze that hit last year. There were a lot of more pink ranges than I would have expected coming down the line. They were even pairing them with some bright teal knobs. But right now, we're currently seeing a lot of browns, tans, and taupes coming into the space.
Brown.
Mm-hmm.
There's never been a successful manufacturer of brown. You keep it as a custom color. Let's talk about refrigeration, right? How do you compete versus, say, the industry leader Sub-Zero? And, they sell the majority of paneled refrigerators. I know BlueStar is a commercial company, and restaurants don't typically put panels on their refrigerators. But do you have how do you compare, and would you put panels on a refrigerator?
Sure. So as with all BlueStar products, we're focused on giving top quality appliances with features that home cooks are really passionate about. When it comes to our built-in line, that means we have dual compressors, so we're not sharing any air, all stainless steel interiors, industry-leading capacity, so that you can fit all your everyday groceries plus all your entertaining needs in one shot into the fridge. And then again, you're able to customize with our 1,000 colors. As far as built-ins are concerned, there are talks in our pipeline of having panels on the front of them. But right now, of course, all of our columns in our line are available as panel ready.
Okay. Have to ask this question. I know it's probably going to be a no, but you guys have started as ranges, went into refrigerators. I mean, your hood lineup for anybody watching this is huge. Certainly with the purchase of Abaca, which I thought back in the 80s was the greatest thing I ever saw. But how about dishwashers? This seems to be kind of like the trend where all the high ends, Sub-Zero's got Cove. Any plans for something like that?
As of today, there are no plans to add a dishwasher to the line. Of course, we have a panel for anyone that's looking for that uniform look across their entire kitchen, and it fits on many of our colleagues here that are on the call.
All right. Well, thank you. That was very informative. We'll talk at the round table at the end. Next up is Jared Costa, who has actually trained me before. He's the director of national training and probably the best feature guy in the industry. So you're next.
So first and foremost, before I jump in, I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you very much to Yale for letting me participate today in the summit. I'm a big fan of all of the content you guys create. I've been someone who really takes in a lot of your blogs, videos. Steve and the team, you guys do an amazing job. So with that being said, this year is a milestone year for Miele, so it makes it even more of a privilege for me to be able to participate. And in particular, we're celebrating 125 years. And for Miele, this milestone really comes down to, I would say, the cornerstone and foundation of our company. As a family-owned company, the great-grandsons of our founders still run the company today. And our first ever product bore the mantra Immer besser. And you'll see that throughout a lot of the communication that Miele shares. Translated from German, that means forever better. And that ultimately is the guiding principle that we utilize to really try to improve upon the products that we bring to market and ultimately aim to enhance the end user's life in whatever category it might be. This year in particular, for our 125-year anniversary, we have a few new additions to our assortment. And the first we look at is going to be our matte black in our handleless art line appliances. This kind of continues on with the trend we've seen in other industries with a textured kind of finish. So automobiles, personal accessories, flooring, cabinetry, and now, of course, with the appliances. And we're very proud and excited to be launching that later this year. In addition to that, we also launched the HR 1422, or in layman's terms, a 30-inch induction range. And while we already had a 30-inch induction range on the market, what makes this one a little bit unique is actually the control and interface, which is more of a traditional knob design. And for those who might be just trying to incorporate induction cooking, sometimes there is a little bit of resistance because they're unsure of actually how to manipulate or control the surface. So I think with the traditional knob design, it offers a little bit more accessibility to that crowd. And of course, as we're speaking about induction, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the continuation of our KM7000 cooktop lineup. Earlier, we had launched some of the entry-level models of this generation, and now we're really happy with some of the feature highlights that we're going to have with the continuation of that. And in particular, when we talk about that, it really comes down to something I get excited about called the Power Flex. Ultimately, what this allows you to do is utilize your cooktop like a traditional one, where I can place pots or pans in each particular zone, or I can utilize a bridge mechanism called Power Flex, so I can use that as one large zone. Ultimately, you can see the versatility you can achieve in only 36 inches, and I would say overall, this is one of my personal favorites. Now, on the converse side to cooking, we also have some cleaning appliances we've made updates to. In particular, the G7000 dishwashers won't have a new generation necessarily, but more of a refinement to what we already offered within the assortment. And in particular, of course, we're still going to have the cornerstones of saying it's the most efficient dishwasher we can possibly engineer while also offering optimal results. And in particular, what we have done with the refinements is simply celebrate some of the things that are becoming for us more trends. So we, of course, will have auto dose with power disc, and that is going to be your automatic dispensing of a powdered detergent with the power disc. And ultimately, it contains about a month's worth of detergent. So it has a lot of peripheral benefits in terms of convenience. And in particular, I would say giving more purpose to the app. In addition to that, the cleaning performance is absolutely superlative. We've also dropped 1 decibel for all of the dishwashers in the G7000 lineup. And in addition to that, we have a lot of accommodations, which I think reflect the trends in the industry. So really just the ability to optimize the space within the baskets. And in addition to that, also take advantage of the ability to create, accommodations for things that people are really using a lot. And in particular, reusable bottles and of course, reusable straws. We saw the Stanley craze and everything else that occurs. So with that, there's a lot of different accommodations and even a bottle clean option to ensure you're getting the optimum hygiene every time you're using those reusable bottles. And while I'm talking about cleaning, I would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about floor care. And for Miele this year, we're kind of completing, I would say, the cordless stick assortment we had. Of course, we currently have the Triflex, which gives you, I think, an incredible whole home cleaning performance with a ton of versatility. But this in particular, the DuoFlex, I think, plays a little bit more in the competitive landscape of what people have come to expect from a cordless stick. And in particular, it has a speed lock system, which allows you to access either the entire vacuum or by pulling up, you can isolate the power unit. I've had it in my home for a few weeks now, and I can say it is the perfect complement to the Triflex. I like to think of the DuoFlex as my Monday through Friday isolated mess cleanups. And then, of course, I can use my Triflex on the weekends to clean the whole home. But overall, the assortment's very exciting for us, and I would say it's a great way for us to ring in the 125-year anniversary.
All right, thank you. I have a Miele cat and dog at home. I love it. I actually had a Miele vacuum for 30 years before it died. I probably could have repaired it here at Yale, but we didn't have repair on vacuum at that time. But great piece of equipment. Great dishwasher, too. I'd like to ask you a couple questions. You mentioned induction. I have a couple questions about that. A lot of brands, Wolf is going to have a 48-inch induction, they say, at the beginning of 2025. How about you for 30 and 36-inch larger inductions?
Yeah, so currently right now we're evaluating, and I would say one of the strengths of Miele, if you have any, experience, and you certainly do, Steve, have a lot of experience with our brand. And I think the one thing we do is very carefully select the engineering and development of a product, because for us, power management is a big thing. And when we start extending into larger sizes than 30, we want to also offer versatility that gives us things like power flex zones, the ability to borrow energy from an adjacent circuit. So we are currently in development and doing a lot of research on that. And I would say that we'll probably have some pretty good news coming up very shortly in 2025.
Well, you're going to need them if you're going to sell vertical business, because you can't put gas in luxury towers in a lot of cities anymore. You had something really cool last year, actually a barbecue grill. The infrared, just an amazing piece of technology. Did you have was that just a mock-up, or do you have any plans of introducing something like that?
Yeah, so this was public knowledge, I think, that we kind of shared at KBIS, like you're referring to. But Miele as a company purchased an existing company called Adavilda in about 2018, I want to say. And over that time, what we were doing is what we do best, which is carefully planning, almost obsessing over the details. And currently, we are doing quite a bit of development. And I would say that you're going to hear some very big news, probably, I would say, in the next year or so related to that. But for Miele, as with anything, we want to make sure that when we bring it to market, it's got purposeful innovation and a significant benefit in terms of performance and longevity.
Two quick questions, and I'll let you go. Steam ovens, love it. I think it's the best cooking appliance that we sell. Your brand is one of the best. Any plans to incorporate that into cooking, like having that in a 30-inch Pro or 36 or 48 when you get the speed oven in the 48? Any chance of making that a steam oven? Because I really think you guys make steam easy to use more than probably just about anybody.
First and foremost, thank you. That is one of the things we are very proud of for us. I think it all comes down to accessibility and also performance to a degree, because when you're talking about steam cooking, the generation, or I should say the conversion of water into steam to disperse and displace the oxygen in the cavity is hugely important. And the reason I bring that up is because when you start to incorporate it into, let's say, a 48-inch range, the thing you need to make sure is that you can support the functionality of the steam oven with the proper voltage. So we are currently looking into the possibility of doing that. And again, I would say, as the development comes along, I wouldn't be surprised if Miele is the first people to hear about it or maybe get some opinions about it, especially with how much I've heard and seen in videos you advocating for steam.
I'm not even the decision maker in my household, but thank you. And thank you for the presentation. One of the most underserved, underrealized is ventilation. I mean, a lot of people are putting these big 60-inch ranges with no ventilation on top, and there's real consequence to your health for doing that. So I'm really excited to have Daryl Williams of GE, who specializes in venting and some really cool products like his new Advantium, which is a new introduction of the old Advantium I sold, 20 years ago, and some other stuff. So I'm really excited to have him. This is Daryl Williams from GE.
And thank you very much, Steve, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to participate in this Luxury Council. So I do appreciate the invitation. Hopefully this will be worth the money. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about ventilation and a little bit about Advantium, as Steve mentioned. But I really have a particular passion about ventilation here, and I want to spend some time here talking about it. Indoor air quality has been in the news of late. Okay, and typically it comes about when there's some type of event. Wildfires in California or Canada, and there's typically some type of occurrence where it becomes top of mind for the population and people get concerned about it. Now, in that vein, indoor air quality has also started to gain some understanding, and that indoor air quality, and many studies have shown that indoor air quality can be many times worse than outdoor air quality. Right? And this is a common occurrence, and it happens in our residences all the time. So one of the things that we focused on here at GE is we really wanted to take a new approach at ventilation and sort of look at how can we really bring some new approaches and new technology to bear, towards this problem. So what we've introduced and are introducing limited availability in fourth quarter, fully available in January, is our ventilation range hood with indoor air quality sensing. Now, this product will be the first to market with a comprehensive indoor air quality monitoring system within the range hood. Internally here at GE, we've codenamed this thing Revolution because we believe it's a revolutionary way to think about monitoring your indoor air quality. Now, this product will monitor a battery of contaminants, particulate matter, ranging from 1 micron, 2.5, 4 micron, up to 10 microns, continuously through the home. It also will monitor volatile organic compounds. These are typically the substances found at outgassing during cooking events, but also commonly found in household cleaners, paint, off-gassing from new furniture, carpets. There are lots of sources of these that many people don't typically consider as being contaminants in their home, along with monitoring, more standard parameters such as temperature and humidity. And what this range hood operates in is in our Smart HQ system. It actually provides that insight, actionable insight to a consumer to be able to manage the indoor air quality and understand when their indoor air quality is changing and to what degree. So it allows that consumer to take action. And because this product is then connected to our Smart HQ system, it also provides the opportunity for this system to be integrated into a more holistic whole home air management system. So our indoor air quality range hood, which will be available in both profile brands, Universal and Monogram, actually becomes sort of the first advance really on a new area in that luxury space, which is really air quality. And when you come to think about it, what's really more important than your next breath? Because ultimately, air quality is important to all of us. It's ubiquitous, and we tend not to think about it, but it really does deserve the attention within our homes. And we should be purposeful in how we manage that air quality so that we create the best environment for our homes and for our families. Other product I would like to highlight is our Advantium, and Steve mentioned it a little bit earlier. Advantium is technology that GE introduced into the marketplace about 20 years ago, right? And Advantium product has had a performance fan base, I'll say, that is almost I'll say religious in its fervor. And Advantium provides oven quality outcomes in a fraction of the time of a conventional oven. Okay. Now, what we're relaunching with this new Advantium, we've codenamed this internally as Advantium Genesis. As we relaunch this product, we've actually brought technologies forward into the product that we believe enhances usability and really do give that consumer the opportunity to experience the compelling features and performance, that Advantium has to offer. This new product features an in-oven camera, and it also features a new Android-backed UX or user operating system. And those are important. One of the key things about the in-oven camera is that is going to enable a full expansion of the ecosystem in cooking for Advantium, right? That will enable future features such as food recognition, remote monitoring, and other aspects that will be able to be delivered to this product over the air. So post-purchase, the product will continue to evolve and continue to improve itself with the consumer, which continues to provide them features and value add throughout the life of the product. Now, the product will maintain the same type of performance, and it will deliver those oven quality outcomes 2 to 8 times faster, depending upon the configuration, that it has always done and that the Advantium name has become synonymous with. But that connectivity opens up a universe of recipes, a universe of settings, and really does allow the consumer to explore on their culinary journey and have the product come along with them and provide them, with the same type of performance and outcomes that they would come to expect. And Vanium has been known for speed for those who are familiar with it. One of the aspects of that Vanium has been overlooked is its consistency in delivering those outcomes every time. So when Advantium products are used and you're entertaining, you become the envy of your group because they wonder why you're able to produce those restaurant quality outcomes consistently at every party, no matter what. So it continues to deliver upon that particular promise, and hopefully will continue to excite consumers even more broadly as we expand the lineup through our different brands. Now, with that, I'm Steve. I'll leave it open for you for any questions.
All right. Listen, thank you very much. I think briefly, talk about the challenge of venting. I mean, what are when someone cooks, give everybody an idea of what they're actually doing in terms of toxic compounds. And hopefully all of your revolution vents will go off like a red alarm for, I know it's nitrogen oxide, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, particulate matter,
Right.
what's going on?
Look, fundamentally, and we can make it really simple. One of the biggest contributors and factors that I like to educate people on is when you're cooking, please turn on the vent. You'd be amazed how many people will standing really amongst a cloud of grease and oil and all of the other things that are generated during a cooking event and won't simply turn on the vent. So, and of course, our products do have this auto on feature so that when they do sense these, they'll turn on. But even in a very straightforward application, turn the vents on. The other thing that I'd like to highlight is that you don't have to wait until you're cooking to use a range vent. There's very few places in a home where you have a controlled exchange of interior air and exterior air. Range hood is one of them. You can use that range hood to eliminate lots of odors. You can turn on the range hood when you're going through a cleaning cycle. You can turn on the range hood, after you've had certain activities in the home or after you've come in from working in the yard and you're covered in pollen or dust or that. You can actually use that product to clean your air, to turn over your air when you're not cooking. So use the range hood more is probably the most fundamental thing I would advise every consumer.
All right. Thank you. That was very informative. I mean, I love that. I mean, wonder if maybe you get that revolution so good that you can detect viruses like COVID or something eventually, because their particulate matter isn't much bigger than some of that stuff. But
that's correct. That's another aspect in terms of ventilation also, which we also, I'm also responsible for ventilation, bath ventilation, as well as kitchen ventilation. One of the things that I advise people when they say, when your kids come home and they may have the sniffle or they feel it, turn on the vent in the bathroom in their nearest area. The key is to create a negative pressure in the area so that you are bringing in fresh air, you're exhausting, internal air.
To make sure you put the makeup air dampers on.
Make sure you put the makeup air on. That's another piece
that's
important.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Recirculating doesn't count. All right. Our next one, we're going from ventilation to super high end. Mike Withers is from AGA and Amy Colosia is from La Cornue. You're next.
All right. So I'm going to start with our newest product, the AGA era. So give you guys a little bit of background. The AGA was traditionally, it's been around for over 100 years. And in 2017, we converted those ranges to being electric range. We gave them an electric capability. And with that electric capability, it did a couple things. First off, it's not going to heat your house anymore. The preheat time is actually going to be much shorter. So you're looking at, for a cast iron range, you're looking at a preheat time from cold of about 45 minutes. And there's some workarounds to it that has a slumber setting where you can preheat it in about 15 minutes. And, there's some workarounds to make it an even a quicker heat up time. But from cold, you're looking at a preheat time about 15 or 45 minutes. Additionally, what the making them electric did was gives you some flexibility in terms of the oven cavity. Traditionally, the AGA ranges had three ovens preset to three separate temperatures. So it kind of, which gives you a lot of capability in terms of cooking multiple foods at multiple times. But with them being electric, now you can actually manage the temperatures within those oven cavities a little bit. So we took that technology and rolled it into our AGA era range. So with those, you have essentially what you're getting is on the right side of your range. You still have 2 cast iron oven cavities. But being that they're electric now, you're able to, this top right one is still going to default to a traditional roasting oven temperature, but you can manage those temperatures and go down from all the way to your simmer, all the way up to top end of your roasting oven. So essentially your top right oven cavity has a temperature range of 200 degrees to 500 degrees, which is a big change for the AGA ranges. Your bottom right oven cavity is going to be a simmering oven, which is about 225 to 250. And then what's great about these new era ranges is on the bottom left, you have a traditional cast aluminum oven cavity that's going to preheat in 10 to 15 minutes, has a temperature range of 200 to 500 degrees, a convection oven, a broiler, a window, a light. It has all the little bells and whistles that makes the American consumer happy, right? So you get all the amazing performance benefits of your cast iron range and all the modern day cooking technologies here on the bottom left oven, what you have here. Okay. On the top, you have a 4-zone induction burner. And on the right, you have what was on a traditional AGA. You had a boiling plate on the left and a simmering plate on the right. And it was surrounded by cast iron. And you kind of used almost like a French top style cooking on it. On the right here, you have a boiling plate that has 2 settings, a boil setting and a simmer setting. And it's surrounded by that cast iron, which once again gives you that cast iron cooking or that French top style cooking almost, right? So all that you have essentially on the right side, you have a cast iron range. On the left side, you have a traditional, much more modern range, all rolled up into this beautiful black glass, chrome trimmed, very contemporary style range. So that's kind of our era range, which is our newest, most exciting product. A couple other things that we have also introduced in 2017 was the AGA Elise and the AGA Mercury. These ranges are essentially the same, right? Just different clothes. I always like to say, one's going out partying on a Saturday night. The other one's going to church and asking forgiveness on a Sunday morning. Still the same person, just dressed a little bit different, right? And what's new with these, not necessarily new, but something that came out about a year ago, was the antique brass collection with the Elise range. So this is been very popular. It's accounting for 64% of our sales at this point. So the antique brass collection is extremely popular. And as you can see here, you get the antique brass stanchions on the rails and the matching knobs, whereas opposed to the traditional Elise, you would have the brushed nickel stanchions, knobs, and rails. Another great thing, it's also new to the market, is that these ranges are available in induction range tops. So you have the Mercury styling and you have the Elise styling in the antique brass or in traditional brushed nickel if you wanted it that way. Those are available in 36 and 48, just like they are in our ranges. Last but not least is our amazing AGA hood collection. So we do have 4 different styles of hoods that are available in 36 and 48. They come in 14 different colors, designed to match your AGA Mercury and Elise ranges. You have brushed nickel trim, antique brass, brushed brass, polished copper, polished chrome. All kind of great trim options to go with your ranges and to kind of create that mixed metals and really kind of blend it all in with your kitchen. So that's kind of what I got right there for you guys. I'd be happy to answer some questions and we can go from there. So,
one of the things that I like about it's amazing. We have so much ventilation here between Ann, Daryl, and now you. But the interesting thing about your hoods is you can customize it, right? The height.
Right? Yes, you can. Yes. So there's some customizations to the height that you can make. So you can really kind of, just depending on your ceiling height, and we want to make sure that we're offering you great options to fit your kitchen. We also partner with one of our companies, Tradewinds, who has a robust custom hood program that we can work with. Essentially, with what we have with the AGA hoods is we've kind of created a custom hood program with 4 different hoods and sizes and colors and all that type of stuff. But any additional customizations you can make, Tradewinds is a fantastic partner, an absolute pleasure to work with, and they're very, very adept at making other changes that you may need to your hoods.
The reason why I said the 18 is because, these garden apartments in Boston need a shorter hood, but if they put a pro range, they still need the deep hood. So there's really not too many options. Yeah. And I love the AGA story, the really cool inventor who was in explosives and then
Yes.
blinded himself and then created the Aga range. It's a great story. Amy, you're next. Same company, different product.
So I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about what's new with La Cornue. A very quick background. We are a brand that's based in France. We have two lines, the Cornue line, which is available in two sizes at a more approachable price point. And then we have our Chateau line, which is hand-built to order in a small factory just outside of France. These are very exclusive pieces, and I'm going to focus on what's new for Chateau. All right, first off, making its KBIS debut, the Chateau Moderne. This was designed in collaboration with esteemed kitchen and bath designer Matthew Quinn, taking on a much more minimal approach. Symmetry and clean lines are themes throughout this piece. You'll notice the decorative adornments that are traditionally seen in the classic chateau have been removed to provide a much more sleek, almost architectural appearance. The elongated oven control doors on either side of those ovens also add to the symmetry of the piece. As with anything La Cornue, it's all about the details. We have the exclusive tubular burner knob with step detailing, again, complementing that architectural appearance. Elongated pull bars for the ovens, as well as the drawers, exclusive to the Moderne line. And as you saw previously in the last photo, we showed our optional hand-hammered polished brass panels. We also have hand-hammered polished nickel panels for a much more striking look. And then we have our brushed stainless or body colored to give a bit more of a subtle look. All of the cooktops in this line have been designed so that they are fully symmetric, keeping the entire look balanced. This is our Chateau Moderne on display in our Merchandise Mart showroom in Chicago. We show it in our hand-hammered polished nickel panels. Starting point for the Chateau Moderne in the 150 size is $98,100. And then in our 180 size, it is $112,900. Both of those are plus freight. And if you're adding the hand-hammered panels, you're going to be looking at around $20,000 in additional. In addition to the Chateau Moderne, we also debuted our new Chateau cabinetry offerings, which will be available later this year. We really took feedback and consideration from our design partners to build a more cohesive and functional line. We've eliminated the dead space that is between the top drawer and the countertop, adding to the overall aesthetic. In addition, we have changed the proportions of the top drawer so that it is continuous with the drip tray. And the knobs on the bottom drawer are also continuous with the knobs on the control doors. In addition to our redesigned cabinets, the stainless steel bottoms will be replaced with wood for a more organic tactile feel. We're showing on the left-hand side our drawer within a drawer, which is available in the taller 3-drawer set. And then on the right-hand side, we are also going to be introducing storage, wood storage options for our Chateau cabinetry. For our door cabinetry, we made the same adjustments with the proportions. In addition, we have added a hidden hinge so that the drawer can be completely opened, giving our clients full access to the interior of the cabinet and also adding to the overall complementary nature of the Chateau line with the range. Here we are showing our brand new Montagne color with our new cabinetry. Montagne was released at KBIS. It is one of our Suzanne Kasser colors.
Okay. First of all, Anne mentioned Barbie. So many pink ranges?
Yeah, we have done quite a few pink ranges. Our units, especially in Chateau, are porcelain enamel. So we at La Cornue do not do the majority of warm colors. So it has to depend on the hue of the pink. There is a component in the enameling process that we've chose to opt out of using due to toxicity with the person who's actually doing the enameling. And so reds, oranges, and pinks can sometimes be difficult for us.
Last year, the most unique range was the F1 driver. You guys made the range out of carbon.
Yeah.
What was this year's most unique range?
So I'm actually going to spotlight our most unique project just because it was very special. And I love this because it's always fun to share our most unique projects. We enjoy kind of having fun with it. So this project I had the pleasure of working on this year. It's going to a customer in Florida. This was our largest project in La Cornue's history. This is just one portion of their order. They have another. There is the next slide after this includes the double island prep island. So this client did 2 double width islands in chateau cabinetry as well as full perimeter cabinetry in his order. The total for this single kitchen was $885,000 plus freight. Definitely a unique opportunity to do something like this. Certainly these complete kitchen projects at this scale are very rare, but I think it's a great representation of La Cornue's full offerings in our classic chateau line.
885,000 sounds like a deal. All right, well, I guess if you have 885,000 or more than that, but beautiful ranges. Thank you all. Let's go to the round table. Let's start something with the macro trends. How does a gas ban in a lot of cities like Boston, Brookline, here, Massachusetts, and LA, New York, San Francisco, you can't put gas in multi-unit. Has that affected your business and accelerated your march to induction? Let's start with you, Ann.
Our march to induction. Last year we launched our first 30-inch induction range. We had a 36 induction cooktop for many years, and as I said, we're coming out with our 48. So we are starting to see consumers' interest shift in terms of what they're looking for in the marketplace.
Okay. How about you, Jared? Has that affected Miele's business and the way they think? I mean, you guys need some bigger induction products. I'm sure that probably goes into whether you start making them or not.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the proliferation of induction is a trend in some areas and it's a mandate in others. So we've actually seen this for some time, especially because you had early adoption of, mandate in San Francisco. We've seen it in, as you said, on the East. We're seeing it in Boston. New York has it, Miami. So with that, it certainly has been a shift in business, or at least how business is presented to that community, because there's a certain limitation there, or certain just, shift towards what you're going to present and what you're going to show within the assortment. And then, of course, that has a domino effect where the engineers and designers start thinking a little bit differently, because you're no longer having much of a risk in developing that product. You're almost ensured that you'll be getting a certain return because the business will be there as long as you capture it in that vertical space.
Let's go to smart functionality, or is it easy to use controls? Daryl, you're shaking your head because you have both, right? Smart HQ that you mentioned is probably the easiest to use. And let's start with you. Or is the answer for the rest of you, what is the rate that you see consumers adopting smart? And should the answer just be easy to use controls? Let's start with you, Daryl.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to segment to say that there's a specific answer. I think it depends on the consumer that you're approaching at the time. Now, all of our controls should be easy to use, whether they're smart or not, right? And that's a fundamental premise. So we like to make sure that even our smart devices aren't overly complicated, right, for the consumer. But we see a significant adoption of connected products, particularly, and I'll speak to Avantium. We see a very, very high connection rate with our connected Avantium products. And I think that what consumers really want to experience there is the true value add, and what is the actual benefit that's being manifest on that product. In Avantium, it's an easier case. That product has such versatility and functionality that connectivity can bring a lot of value add to that consumer, and simplifying and making it easy for them to experience, the product's performance. In some other areas, that benefit may not be as evident. But we see a very high adoption and we tend to think it's going to continue in general to see a more connectivity throughout the products where that value add is obvious.
What percentage of the people are connecting, would you say, if you had a round number?
For Advantium product, we see north of 70%.
Really?
Yes. It's shocking when you think about it, because you don't see connection rates that high on certain products. But I think what's important is the value proposition compelling, and can you communicate it to the consumer? Right. So for
Very interesting.
Advantium, one of the challenges, well, one of the benefits and challenges, again, the product is so versatile. So how do you bring some of those features forward to the consumer and actually have them be able, to experience the benefit? So for us, it's as simple as being able to bring forward a new cooking mode for air fry, for example, and being able to put that front and center on a control based upon understanding that that's a very highly used function, very popular.
You're talking about wirelessly adding modes like
Absolutely.
turkey and smokehouse. You guys are good at that.
Yeah.
Now, for the rest of you here, Anne, Amy, with the $98,000 range, Mike, I mean, you're not cheap either. Any plans of adding smart?
Well, it's something that we're exploring with AGA, but a lot of times, AGA is a traditional cooker in a lot of ways, right? So but it is something that it's definitely being explored. Going back to the induction, right? The induction is actually not a new product for us. We've had 36 and 48 induction units on the market since 2017. So it's something that it's not necessarily a product that we're working on. It's something that we're adding to. Right. So connectivity, you mentioned air fry, steam ovens. Those are the types of things that we're looking to adding to those ranges, in addition to the induction that we already have. So in a lot of ways, it's definitely something that is, our engineers are working on. It's good to know that 70% of people are logging into it. I didn't know it was that much. That's a big number, right? So it's definitely something that we need to, something that is definitely being explored on the side of AGA, right? So
how about La Cornue? Any plans?
I mean, as the induction and market expands, we will certainly expand our space in the electric market. We did showcase a prototype
we're talking about smart
yes.
stuff.
In terms of smart functionality, I think the short answer, especially with Chateau, is no. La Cornue is very much deeply rooted in French culinary cuisine. And I think now more than ever, our clients appreciate the fact that we give them the opportunity to slow down and enjoy the art of cooking without using screens, apps, and everything else that comes with those smart devices.
Now, Anne, forgive me for saying this because I've been here a little bit longer than you have in your position, but you guys said, quote, "You'll never have a seal burner and you'll never have a touch screen." Yet here we are, right, with your seal burner range. Any plans adding smart to that?
Of course, never say never. I think when we talk to the BlueStar customers, we know that they're looking for purposeful features, and that's really at the core of what they want. And if smart becomes purposeful and meaningful to them, then I think we'll explore adding it into our products. But right now, there's nothing in the current pipeline.
Mm-hmm. That's a great answer, because the best smart feature I saw is Smart HQ for their commercial side. They'll tell the owner of that laundromat if the washer is broken and what part they need to fix it right on the app. That's the best smart application I've ever seen. It's not even available residentially. Go figure. Okay, we're finishing up here with two questions. What is the one trend that you consider the most important? Jared, we'll start with you.
So I think we've touched on probably a couple of them, but I think right now we're starting to see, with the competitive landscape the way it is, people are looking for more of the purpose behind the innovation rather than the hollow gimmick. So kind of what Anne said is, you really have to have better clarity in the way you're designing and communicating the features that you're bringing to market. And that's one of the things I think that we enjoyed a kind of a wealth of demand in the times of COVID. And now that we're starting to see a little bit of a pullback in that, I believe that it's giving better clarity for brands to really identify the things that are most specifically beneficial to their demographic. And then how do we communicate that? Because, things like an app are a useless luxury if you don't start to really lead people to how does this enhance my lifestyle? What is the use of downloading it? We're not seeing the level of connectivity that Daryl is seeing by any means, but at the same time, we are seeing a representative increase month over month with even existing appliances. So I think the key is to create content and do things like we're doing today, where you discuss the benefits of certain technologies and platforms where people can identify and gain a better benefit out of what they own.
What do you think, Ann? What's the one trend that you
importance of
consider the
design.
most important?
For BlueStar, that has a lot to do with color, but I think consumers are looking for their kitchen to be a beautiful showpiece in their home. It's not just that you're taking people to formal living rooms anymore, spaces like that. The kitchen is a place to be shared and to use as entertainment. So the design of appliances continues to be important to us as a brand and what we're seeing from our designers.
What do you think, Daryl? What do you think is the one trend you consider the most important? It doesn't have to be ventilation, although ventilation is hugely important because everybody knows now.
Yeah,
You can't turn on a
I think that's
coal
growing.
burner without a vent, right? Or you
Yeah,
shouldn't.
but I do think, and I think that even broader than ventilation, because as people learn that, I do think that's going to continue to grow. But overall, I think there is a sense that consumers really want the brand to know them. And not only do they want the brand to know them, they want to feel like the brand likes them, as an individual. And I think that regardless of how they interact, and in many cases, it can be, to Amy's point, that allegiance to the culture of French cuisine and chateau cooking, or if they're understood via an app. However, that consumer really wants to be known. They want to be known, and they want to feel like the brand cares about their well-being. I think that will continue and expand, because the expectation of personalization and only bringing me what I want when I want it is becoming fundamental in a huge demographic of our population. And I don't think they're going to turn back anytime soon.
In my opinion, whatever you guys create, make it easy, right? I think consumers, and I think to some degree, Jared, you guys are really famous for that. Just make it easy. I don't want to have to learn Steam to use it. I want to be able to press a button and have it done for me, That's what I see a lot of people. Now, what's the biggest problem facing the industry? What do you say, Mike? What's the biggest problem?
For us, the biggest problem is, being a luxury appliance, I think with AGA, specifically with the cast iron and era lines, it's a lot about education, right? Because it is a bit of a different style of cooking, but it's also, what I say is, it's so simple, it's genius, right? So it's kind of, some of it is, the understanding that when you're tending to the kitchen and kind of being there is kind of really, what I say is, you orchestrate the meal, right? So you're in the kitchen and you're orchestrating the meal, and you're cooking the food. So I think that a lot of times with the luxury brands, the style of cooking may be something different, but it's just as simple. It's just instead of turning the knob down, you just slide your pan over to the side, right? So I think for us, that's a bit of a challenge, but blending style and performance is always going to be the number one thing that you want to offer your customers in the luxury line. So as long as you have style options that are going to fit their kitchen needs, and the performance is going to be there for the person that's really into the cooking experience, you can meet the challenges that are presented.
It's not what I'm going to say, but interesting. Biggest problem, Jared?
There's always the external side of things, which of course we're all experiencing, I think, which is the economic issue at hand, which, I think it's always a pendulum, and sometimes you're on the right side of it and sometimes you're not. And right now we're waiting for the pendulum to swing, and I think that good times are ahead of us. But from an industry specific perspective, I do think that there's a lot of times, kind of the counterpoint to what you said is we make things very difficult. And we speak appliance, and day in and day out, we know appliance. But the average consumer, how often are they redoing their home? How often are they, designing a kitchen? And what we need to do, I think, is to create a more linear logic to I turn this on and I go. And, sometimes we make it more difficult than it has to be. And at Miele, one of our biggest, I think, focuses is really to make it as advanced as you want to make it or as basic. You can turn it on and go. And that's really one of our biggest things, is to keep incorporating new appliances, but keep falling back on that simple to use.
What do you think, Amy, for the people that can afford a $98,000 range? What's the biggest problem facing the industry?
I would certainly say, obviously, they are extremely limited distribution ranges. Having the right servicers in the right places is always a challenge for us, and getting the service market really robustly set up. Aside from that, I think balancing both new innovations and keeping with our tradition in French culinary cuisine is always a delicate balance that we walk through with La Cornue.
Anne, what do you think?
Back a little on what Jared was saying, I think we are still seeing some of the supply chain challenges, especially as we're looking at some of our new product, sourcing new components across the U.S. There's a lot of lead times and from suppliers that we're seeing that is impacting our goals in terms of being able to deliver to you and consumer in the right lead time.
Daryl,
Yeah,
there's,
I think
there's this big problems and everything that you seem to be pushing the ventilation. But what do you think is the biggest problem in the industry?
Yeah, I do think, and I think Jared's right on. I think being able to simplify and we've spoken about this just briefly before when we talk about Advantium and all its capability. How do you keep it simple enough so that people can actually use the thing? And we know this because, again, we have very high connection rates. Even though we have that, I know that the majority of people use Advantium purely for its microwave function, although it has all these other capabilities. How do you bring those forward so that people are able to actually experience it in every product line, in every product category? How do you bring it simplified? It can be as smart as it needs to be to accomplish what it needs to do, but it should also be smart enough to be able to simplify and be able to be used by grandma when she approaches the product, and to be able to accomplish what the intent is.
It's funny. You look at the two most successful companies. You talk about, Apple with their simplicity, and appliances aren't simple. Especially the better ones. I think, Jared, you do a good job. I think some of you do. I mean, Amy, you don't have any controls. It can't get much simpler than that. But the other thing is the Amazon promise of same day service. I think that this industry, especially because nobody does VOTEC in high schools anymore, I think this industry, especially in the super luxury of getting things installed, because GCs are pushing back on that now, especially with all these paneled, like Thermo's got a 6-panel refrigerator. Installation's a problem. And here's the one for the company that can figure this out, which will be the winner: service. How do you take that customer that bought all that stuff and service him or her same day? And that's the big challenge of the industry, in my opinion. But listen, guys, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you coming in on this panel. I know I learned a lot, and I hope everybody in YouTube does as well. And we'll do this again next year.
Thanks, Steve.
And thanks again for participating.
Thank you, Steve.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.
All righty. See you guys later.